Hey everyone, Jeremy here. It is Saturday morning, and we're going to create some art. It's going to be awesome. I don't expect my usual crowd that hangs out with me during the live streams to be up this early on a Saturday. They're probably sleeping in. We're a party crowd. We like to drink, things like that. I'm surprised I'm up, to be honest. I've got some coffee in my system, though. I think it's going to be fine. I've got more coffee. In fact, let me take a swig of coffee. Yeah, I'm not used to these Saturday morning. For one thing, it's super bright here in my studio, and that affects some of the art I do. So I do art during the daytime. It's not all at night while I'm drinking, but you know, I don't usually live stream it, so this is a change for me. So I'm just gonna see how it goes. If I enjoy doing these Saturdays, maybe I'll do one or two in the future, but I think it's a little bit early, so don't expect too many of them. But anyway, what are we working on? Great question. So this weekend I went to, not this weekend, sorry, last night, which is part of the weekend, I went to a gallery hop, which is where all the different galleries kind of open the doors. They have like wine and hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that, and you get to go out and meet some of the artists. And I got to meet some pastel artists. So earlier in the week I did like a pastel landscape. So I want to try to do that again, having talked to some of the artists who do pastels. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right in while we're chatting. I can see Tyler's in the house. That's cool. Not completely alone here. That's great. It would kind of suck to just be talking to myself, but I'm used to doing that. It's fine. Uh, let's see, what's Tyler saying? Hey, just wanted to stop in and say hey before we're. Oh, okay. Tyler's taking off. Anyway, I appreciate you hanging out with me, man. Um, but yeah, like I was talking to these guys, and I really do like doing pastel pictures, and particularly like doing pastel like landscapes. I've tried to do landscapes. For those of you who don't know me or this channel at all, people who maybe never watch the evening shows, I'm not an expert artist. I'm trying to learn myself. I'm just kind of picking things up as I go. Um, been doing this for about a year now, and it's a lot of fun for me. But I am by no means any kind of like expert or anything like that. So I try to see what other people do and kind of like pick up on that and see what I can maybe uh, pick on for myself, and just kind of like experiment and have fun. But in this particular case, I am going to try to do a landscape. I'm going to try to have some like foreground here. This kind of like a grassy field. Maybe have like some trees doing like a dividing between that and the sky. And then some stuff in the foreground probably. I'm not really sure. I've got some reference photos in front of me, but I'm trying to kind of create like a composite of them all. This is not any particular place in the world. I do plan to like go out and actually try to create pictures of like actual places that I go to, but I'm not ready there. I think I'm gonna kind of set the horizon here, just kind of put out a line for that. Um, so uh, some comments about what I've already done on this. So like you can see that this paper is kind of tinted. The way I work, I just have like cheap supplies and stuff like that. So I'm actually using watercolor paper for pastels. And the way that works is you can use this product, I mentioned it before, this product called Clear Gesso to create kind of like a sanded surface on your watercolor paper that you can then use for pastels. And then as part of that process, since you're going to be doing that anyway, might as well add a tint to it with like watercolor, which is what I did here. Kind of added this yellow color so that maybe the sky might glow a little bit with the sun, and we'll see how that goes. But right now there's always this ugly phase with pastel pictures. It never really looks good until you've worked with it for a little bit and added a bunch of layers. These bottom layers and stuff, they always look pretty rough. The other thing about doing like a Saturday live show is my evening live shows, people do have to go to bed at a certain time. So I try to keep it under 2 hours, just so that they can like head off to bed because they have like work or school or something like that the next day. Um, I don't feel like there's any kind of restriction on these Saturdays. Like I'm not planning on streaming for hours today, but I could, right? I could just like do a marathon or something where I finish an entire picture in one sitting. Like that would be rough for you guys to watch. Like I would recommend like popping in and out and stuff and not actually watching all of that straight through, but I could do that. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. I might end up doing that in the future. So I'm just kind of like roughing in some sky here. At this point, I am going to add some clouds um, and kind of smooth all of this out. But again, stages. As far as like the foreground, think I think I'll come back to that, to be honest. I also have like a little bit of allergy, so I sound like I have a cold. That's what's going on there. Apologize for that, but that's how it goes. So I like to mix a bunch of different colors together just to kind of see what comes out of these clouds. It's something I've done a couple of times with these pastel landscapes. I've done three of these, I think. So it's not so when I say things I've done before, it's not like I have like a big um, you know, body of work to draw from or like a lot of experience or anything like that. But it is fun to experiment and learn, like I imagine some people in the audience, you guys are learning as well. So it's kind of cool to like hang out together and chat. Feel free to chat, by the way. I don't know how many people's in the room. Probably not a lot. Most of my people who watch are, like in the further out west in the United States, and I have some people who watch from other countries and stuff. But this is probably super early for some of them. Like it could be as early as I don't know, like 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. That's nuts. Maybe if I do Saturdays, I should do it a little bit later. So anyway, now that I've got kind of like a little bit of color up in here, I want to kind of smooth it out just to not too crazy, but I want to kind of get this blur from this initial layer. Um, I think this is what kind of lends to that whole cloudy look. So, and this is what I really like about pastels, the opportunity to blend just using your finger, I mean, you could use other tools. Obviously, you don't have to use your finger. I've seen some people use their finger with while wearing gloves. I don't care about all that kind of stuff. I like to get messy when I'm creating art. The texture of pastel and like this is kind of sanded paper. That's what that whole clear gesso is all about. Some people don't like that texture, so I respect that some people don't just want to put their hands on it and stuff, but I don't mind it. I think art's supposed to be a little bit messy. Of course, it gets kind of rough when you go to like wipe your hands. You've got pastel all over your hands. But yeah, so I think adding that underpainting of like yellow and stuff, it kind of like makes the sky just not like straight up blue, which is good. Um, one of the things I really like about how pastel landscapes turn out is you have all these different layers and all of these different like spots of the color kind of just peeking through, and the texture is kind of cool too, especially like when working with clouds and skies and stuff like that. But anyway, um, so I don't just want like a sky. I kind of want like some direction to these clouds. So like I'm going to use this kind of like grayish pastel. It's still kind of light. I mean, it may look white to you, or actually depending on the lighting in here. Like I'm not used to this lighting. Like during the daytime, I've got what probably represents more the true color of this stuff coming through. I don't know what it looks like on camera. Like I can barely see my computer screen. It's so bright in here. Like the sun's like right in my face. I'm not used to being this lit up. As an individual of a certain age, it kind of makes me a little anxious to be so highlighted, especially in such a public forum like this. But anyway, it is what it is. But anyway, so this gray color, it kind of looks a little bit white on the paper, or like an off-white, but it is gray, and I just kind of want to like lay it down to kind of get the start of some clouds in here. It's not particular. It's not like overcast or anything in this photo that, or like this picture that I'm doing, but there are a bit of clouds. And I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of, I like I like doing cloudscapes. Again, it's still kind of early in my landscaping career, I guess. So maybe I'll branch out and stuff. But for right now, I really like doing the clouds in the sky just to create some visual interest. So one of the challenges for me is like blowing the excess pastel off of the paper without like spitting on it because I do tend to drool a bit. But anyway, yeah, sometimes I've done pictures where it's like I go to blow like excess, I don't know, charcoal off or something like that. I do a lot of charcoal pictures on this channel. I've been really like all over the place with the different mediums that I try. I'm still trying to find my way. Again, I'm kind of fresh to doing art. I started this channel about a year ago, like, well, about a year and a half now, with the idea that I would just practice doing art every day, practice creativity every day. That was the whole goal. And it was actually a New Year's resolution. So like New Year's of 2023, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to be more creative. And I just kind of stuck with it. I really enjoy creating art. It's something that I always enjoyed doing as a kid, but as an adult, like you got day job, and I'm a programmer, by the way. That's my day job. Or, well, I kind of work for myself, so it's not really a job, but it's a job, but it is a chore of mine. It's what pays the bills. But anyway, so like you don't get like a lot of opportunity to be visually creative. Sometimes you do when working with graphics and programming, but not always. So it was a big thing for me to really want to like try to be more creative and practice creativity. So that was my New Year's resolution in 2023, and here I am a year and a half later, and I'm still sticking with it. So must be doing something right. But yeah, it's kind of a low-key channel. Like I just sit here and create art and hang out with you guys in the chat. Again, most of the people that I chat with, they're kind of like night owls, so I don't expect many of you guys to show up. But I'm more than capable of talking to myself. I do have some co-pilots on this show. They're over here on this like little mat over here. They're my doggos. They like to pop in every now and then. But if you've never been on this channel, and of course all this is going to be recorded, so you may be watching this in the future. But if you enjoy experimenting with art, like you're not gonna watch this show and probably pick up like a lot of useful information. Again, I'm not a professional artist, although I have been paid to do art, so I guess I am a professional artist in a sense. But I'm not I'm not a trained artist. Definitely not classically trained. Self-taught, I guess would be the term. Um, Down here in the foreground, there's going to be some like I don't know, like wildflowers and kind of like bushy type stuff. So I can be like a little bit rougher with the kind of vary up the marks down here. I don't really like this green. I'm going to end up adding some other greens over it, just to let you know. It's just, I've got a very limited set of pastels at the moment. I need to order some, and I just haven't gotten to it. Every day I go like, oh, that's on my task list. I'm going to order some pastels, and I just haven't. But that's okay. I've got enough. Between the stick pastels and pastel pencils, I've got enough colors to make this look like the landscape that I have in my mind. It's just not going to look like that until after I kind of work with it. So like this guy up here, if you kind of scroll back, it didn't look like this to begin with. So take some layering. Anyway, yeah. So like I'm a self-taught artist, just trying to, you know. But for one thing, it's meant to be fun. So like I am enjoying myself doing this stuff, and I don't take it too seriously. Again, it's not a profession. I do commission work sometimes, and I do I do like contests and stuff just to you know, give myself challenges. I am always challenging myself on the show, trying to get outside my comfort zone, which I would say Saturday morning is definitely outside of my comfort zone. Uh, First off, this is probably the first stream I've done in many, many moons where I haven't been drinking, right? So like that's always a good way to take the edge off. So instead, I'm hopped up on caffeine right now. But anyway, um, so I work with like a bunch of different mediums and stuff. Again, there's some that I like better than others. So I can't say that I haven't settled on anything in particular. Like I love pastels. Pastels are my go-to. I enjoy drawing. Some people call it painting. I think at my level that would be a bit pretentious to say I'm painting in pastels, but I like drawing in pastels. Um, so that's definitely one of my go-to mediums. If you go and look at some of my videos on my channel page, lately I've been actually painting with coffee, uh, especially this year, and that's a lot of fun for me. I like the style of that. I like how those turn out. So like it's kind of like you don't meet a lot of artists who say, "Yeah, I'm a pastel and coffee artist," right? So like those two mediums are not typically things that like an artist would take on. So like you might find a artist who deals with like dry medium like pastels, and then they also paint in like oils or acrylics or something like that. But you don't usually meet somebody who says like, yeah, I do pastels, and then also I paint with coffee. And but I really like how those turn out, and I have a lot of fun doing them. To me, they're probably more fun than doing watercolor, which I also try. I try to do watercolor quite a bit. Um, so even though I don't really want to get it into the horizon here, I do kind of want to create that separation. So I'm gonna use this darker green here and just kind of like roughly sketch in maybe like some trees that are up here on the horizon. I don't think, actually, I'm gonna switch to, that's not enough for me. I think I'm going to go with, start with this black here, and I'm just gonna kind of do this in black, and then I'll come over it with like a lighter green or something. So, um, that whole idea with doing these pastel pictures, at least the way I do them, I don't know. There's probably some people out there who are like more hyper realistic when it comes to pastels, but when dealing with landscapes, to me, it's all about suggesting things, like implying things. So like I am suggesting that there is a clump of trees up here on the horizon. And I think I want that to kind of extend out here to the middle to kind of like create that line. So there's a couple of reasons why I like this. First off, this is just like a photo I kind of put together out of like a bunch of different photos. So like I wouldn't say that the composition here is something that strictly exists in nature, but it's something that could exist in nature, which is good enough for me. But I like the composition here just because you know I talk a lot about how one of the um, primary goals of art, I guess it would be the right word, goal. I don't know what the actual word would be, but one of the uh, one of the challenges of being an artist is that you have to convey information. So I would say that's one of the goals of art is to convey information, communicate. And one of the things that you have to do when you're communicating a picture is you have to kind of tell the viewer what they're looking at. And you don't have to be like explicit in that. There's like a bunch of different styles. So obviously like hyper realism. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you would be looking at a landscape, but also, you can kind of imply, um, the same thing with less information. So like you don't have to make it super hyper realistic and stuff to imply that this is a landscape and that the horizon is here and all of that jazz that I'm putting into this. You can do it very abstractly. You can do it with just planes of color. So like if I put blue and just green and just put like stripes across it, like you would know that that's basically like a very minimalized landscape. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can communicate the information that you have to communicate. Um, but it is about communicating. So I like putting in the trees on the horizon, even though you've probably seen a million different landscapes that look like that. Just to convey the information that, like, there is some depth to this. There is a sky, there is a field. These trees are at a distance, so that field goes way back into the horizon. Um, you know, it's all about communicating what you're looking at. I'm just getting some rough darkness down here just to kind of provide a background for wildflowers that are going to be in the foreground. So like again, that's part of the the whole idea behind the composition is to communicate that this is at a distance. So like you've got a person out here in this field, um, theoretically, I'm not going to draw a person that is looking out over the field, and there's stuff going on in the foreground, there's stuff going on in the background, all these like cool little visual things that people can look at. And these things are going to look pretty rough. There's always an ugly face to doing pastel pictures. All right, so now that I've got some of that um, really dark black in the background, I can kind of come in with some greens over it just to kind of like let you know that yeah, these are trees. So you see that I'm switching to like a pastel pencil. It's not because I'm like wanting to put in more detail. It's just I only have like a limited set of the stick pastels. Um, and then these are all also like smaller features. So like you use the stick pastels to kind of like get in big swaths of color, but then you can kind of go, with something as small as a pencil on some of these smaller features. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these trees here yet. I just kind of want to get them in there. I just wanted to kind of like set the stage, I think, so that as I start refining some of these other areas and stuff, some pieces kind of like make a little more sense. Anyway, um, I don't know how many people are watching right now. Again, it's pretty early on a Saturday, but if you are watching and you have any questions or you just want to comment or just say hi, um, feel free to like chime in the chat. Uh, we don't always talk about art on this channel. Sometimes we just, shoot the shit about whatever. I do live in central Kentucky in the United States. So, like, if you're from some other country or something like that and you're kind of curious about the United States, you know, I have a lot of opinions on things, but I do have, um, I don't know, some observations that maybe I can throw out there about what it's like living in the United States or living in rural Kentucky. I wouldn't say that like I'm your typical Kentucky. Okay. Like I feel like people in Kentucky there's like a kind of a stereotype um, of what people in Kentucky are like, and I don't feel like I meet that stereotype, but I can definitely uh, relate to that stereotype to where, yeah, okay, it's fair. What you guys are saying is probably true for some of the folks that are out there. Um, but anyway, you so I don't know if you can hear that. I try to like get rid of background noise so that like my dogs they snore a lot, so I want to kind of minimize the background noise. But as far as like ASMR, just kind of like listening to art being created, it's kind of cool to hear that scratchy noise. I love it. Like some people hate it. Like probably for some folks, it sounds like scraping your fingers on a chalkboard. Um, but I like it. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of going back over my green with like a darker um, pencil. And the reason why is, again, I have a limited set of pastels. So like I don't have the actual darker green color that I want. So I have to kind of darken up the green in this foreground. And like I feel like the same, so I'm kind of not really glazing, but just kind of lightly going over. I don't know if you would call it glazing, but hey, Davio's in the house. Cool. Yeah, I figured people would start waking up. It's super early on a Saturday. I respect that. I got trusted in the house. That's cool. There's my peeps. I was wondering where you guys were. Um, yeah, color in the morning, Davio. I appreciate it. Yeah, I did kind of like a pastel landscape earlier in the week, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool and stuff. I want to do more with that. And then I didn't really want to wait until Tuesday, which is my normal Tuesday evening, which is my normal broadcast time. And I'm like, well, like I've got things to do on Saturday, but like I don't know, it's like 10:30 in the morning. I don't get started this early usually, so I'm like, well, I want to go out and like it's a beautiful day out. I want to go out and enjoy the sunshine and the nature out there. But it's still a little early, You gotta wait for the coffee to kick in and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go out and do that later on. So we're gonna start off the day with some pastels. Yeah. Oh, this is good coffee, by the way. I'm drinking espresso here. Um, so even though I'm not drinking my typical bourbon, I am kind of cheating because this is a bourbon coffee, so it's a bourbon infused coffee. Um, it's I don't think like I don't think there's actual bourbon in it, or if it's just bourbon flavor. I don't know how they make it, but there's a part of the roasting process with the coffee is that they I don't know, they steep it in bourbon or something like that. It's a type of bourbon that they make around here called Rebel. It used to be called Rebel Yell, and I think they make it out in Bardstown. But in addition to making the coffee itself, they also make coffee bourbon. Or in addition to making the bourbon, they make coffee bourbon. There we go. So this is bourbon flavored coffee essentially. I considered making a Bloody Mary um, this morning, but I don't know. I I got things I want to do today, so it's a little early for me to be drinking. So we're just gonna do the coffee this morning. Trusted Living says, Jeremy, do you eat bourbon gummies also? No, I don't eat bourbon gummies, but that's funny because bourbon does enhance the flavor of basically everything. So I do eat bourbon, and especially in like different sauces. So like if you have syrup on your pancakes, I recommend adding bourbon to the syrup because it tastes amazing. So like bourbon flavored syrup. And then there's a bunch of other things that you can put bourbon into, like certainly candies. So like bourbon mixes well with like chocolates and obviously cake and basically you can put bourbon in anything. If you have like peanut butter and jelly sandwich, soak the bread in bourbon. I do love bourbon. I ain't gonna lie. I do live here in central Kentucky. By the way, this is kind of like a Kentucky typical Kentucky landscape. We um we have a lot of trees. We have a lot of farms around here. Most of the farms are horse farms. We have some cow farms, cattle farms. I don't know what you would call them, but fewer, at least in this area. In this area, it's mostly horses. A lot of beautiful horses around here. Um, so you can see that I'm blending out a lot of these, and it kind of creates this kind of blurry look. That's just because they're the bottom layers. There's going to be more like stuff over these things. They create like a little bit more definition. And you can see that I'm not blurring these trees because these trees are kind of like, you know, they're not part of that blurry thing. So like if you think of it like as your eye is a camera, um, you get those, I think it's aperture settings. I don't know. I'm not a photographer, but you have these settings that create like blurriness on everything except for the focal point, and then the focal point has like a great deal of detail. That's kind of the deal here. So now that we've got some darker stuff here, I'm not sure if that's as dark as I want it to be, but it is it is what it is. I want to introduce some other greens in here so it's not all like this kind of like, I think that's a little too vibrant as far as the green goes. I want to kind of mute it a little bit with these other greens. And you can see I'm not like super stressed about my marks here. I'm just kind of like randomly haphazardly putting these things in. And the reason why is because these are all like grassy features. These are all like things that are in a big old field. And it's just a bunch of like little squiggles. Life is pretty random, There's like just a bunch of random squiggles in your life. There you go. And I like putting these things in and just kind of like layering them over each other because it creates this like really kind of neat, like not all, I don't know how much of it's showing up in camera because I got this like bright ass sun right in my face. So like I can't really see the computer screen too well to see. But if you were looking at this in person, there's like at least three different like layers of green going on here, three different kinds of greens. And I think that creates this really cool, visually interesting thing to see. Trusted says, breakfast beer is not foreign to me. I haven't weekend gardened with breakfast beer in many years. So I feel like I get it. People, you don't want to be like an alcoholic drinking like 24/7 or anything like that. But I feel like the rule that like you can't drink before a certain time is kind of like this made up arbitrary rule. Like somebody made that up and just kind of like it stuck as a cultural like norm, even though it's dumb. Like why can't you have beer for breakfast? Like I don't know. What if you want to get up and do some stuff and then go back to sleep? Like honestly, beer puts me to sleep. That's why I don't drink a lot of it. I only drink beer when I really want to like relax or something. Like if I'm hanging out around a campfire or something like that, that's when I'll be drinking beer. Or if I'm like kayaking, I drink a lot of beer when I go kayaking because I'm just relaxing, floating on the river, on the creek or whatever. Um, or sometimes I go kayaking on the lake, but it's just relaxing. You might have a beer when you're grilling out or something like that. That's how I do it. Um, to me, beer just kind of puts me to sleep. So I don't spend a lot of time drinking beer unless I really want to just kind of relax. For me, I like, and I don't drink a lot of spirits either. I I usually only do it when I'm doing the live stream or when I'm out hanging out with my brothers or nephews who are pretty big drinkers. So I'm a bit of a social drinker, to be honest. I do like a good glass of something, like a bourbon, or as far as cocktails go, like an old fashioned or even a martini, maybe, just to chill out and relax. So I feel like I'm working on this foreground a little bit more than the clouds, but that's okay because I really wanted to get some of this stuff in here so that it doesn't just look like a mess. I think I'm just gonna switch from a bunch of different green pastels to kind of give some give some depth to this grassy field in front of us. It's like a little rolling hill. This is what you see in Kentucky, by the way. So like you don't have to go very far outside the city limits. So like I live in Lexington, which is in central Kentucky. Honestly, like you go 5 miles out of the city limits, this is what you're going to see. And you're going to love it. It's beautiful out here. Again, most of this is because my like if I had a good set of pastel, I feel like I keep making excuses for like not having my set of pastels that I want to have. But when I get my set of pastels, you'll probably see a little bit of changes to my workflow. You'll probably see me adding a lot more of this stuff with the stick because like with the stick here, I'll just show you. So like say I wanted to, you did you're creating these like these lines with just like that. I actually like that. I'm gonna leave that there. But creating this like little highlighted ridge here. I would probably do that with these stick pastels. And then, say I wanted to create like a clump of you know, like weeds that are highlighted, catching that sun or something like that. I would do that with these. And I'm able to do that with this one because this is pretty good for catching that light. But I would like to put more colors in here with these sticks. So like my workflow, of course, everybody's different. And again, I'm not like an expert or anything like that. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But what I like to do is I like to primarily draw with these sticks. I only go with the pencils when I need to do something like, I don't know, like here in Kentucky, there's like a lot of rail fences or say I'm doing like a portrait of somebody's face, I need to do like the eyelashes or something like that. Then I'll turn to a pencil. But I really enjoy, I feel like it just feels like being an artist more to use the stick on its side like this. So that's my go-to. Um, so I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but let me kind of explain. Um, with this dark area in front, when I do come in and I take this pastel and I, just create like this lighter color and just create this like clump here, it looks like the weeds. And by weeds I mean like wildflowers. I don't know the names of these things. Um, Wild grasses or whatever. They're popping out of the dark background, and I feel like that's what you kind of want to do as as a person who is like trying to capture and express this field. Um, you want to create these like interesting layers of like what's going on and stuff. Communicate that stuff. Like I said, as an artist, that's at least one of your primary goals. Like to me, that my philosophy is that that's like your soul goal. Your soul goal. Your entire goal as an artist is to like communicate things, and what you're communicating can probably vary. So like I don't want to limit what it is that being an artist means. Like you may be trying to convey an emotion, you may be trying to like make a statement, maybe a political statement or whatever you want to do. um, some cultural statement. All of that's fine, but I still feel like you're in the business of communicating to the viewer certain things. So like in my case, I'm not trying to create like any kind of like maybe a mood. Like maybe I'm trying to communicate a mood here, but I'm not making any profound statements about life in general with this picture. Uh, but I will say that like I am trying to like express this feel to you guys. So um, kind of got off on a tangent there. I'm not really sure what I'm talking about, but that's okay. The bottom line, the takeaway is that you are in the business of communication. So like you need to keep that in mind when you're doing the picture. Like my whole thing here is like what is and actually that is actually like something that exists in art where in some cases you're trying to look for the minimal amount of information that you can put into a picture to convey what it is. And so you have like whole schools of art and stuff devoted to just that. Like I wouldn't say Rothko is like a landscape artist, but theoretically, Mark Rothko might have like just created like a field of blue and a field of green and called it done, and said, "Hey, there's a that is a field in Kentucky." Um, you do have like some fields of art that deal with just that. That's not what I'm trying to do, but that is something that other people do. All right, so went from dark to like this lighter green, and then I think I'm going to add you know, little splotches of yellow in here as well. And when you put all this together, the yellow kind of looks a little bit green, but it's kind of like a brighter green and stuff. So you get some more depth to your picture. And there's some other colors that I'm going to put in here as well. I just kind of wanted to get started on these. But I don't know. It's a lot of fun. To me, it's relaxing to do this stuff. Um, if I could figure out how to live stream out in the field, I would love to go out into a field. Um, the problem is I would have to rely off of the camera being my phone and also rely on the internet being my phone. I'm not sure if that's too much tax on my phone. I've got kind of an older phone. It's not the best in the world. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'll just try it sometime and see if it works. But I would love to go out into like an actual field and just stand out there and probably get eat up by mosquitoes and pick up a few ticks. We have ticks out here. They're terrible. Um, do all that for the sake of art, worth it. But yeah, I think that it would be kind of fun just to go out and to a field and like actually do a live stream the from the wild, I guess. Trying to get darker greens back in here. Imply and suggest. That's a mantra I'm always telling myself. Mantra? I don't know how to pronounce these words that I say. Um, these are the things that I tell myself as I'm trying to create the picture and suggest. I'm not I'm not a hyper realistic artist. I don't know many pastel landscape artists who are like I think that I think basically everybody's doing the same thing where it's you know they might put a fancy spin on it, but what they're doing is basically impressionistic and you know, oh, that's no good. I hate when that happens. You breaking the line. All right, well, I don't feel like sharpening that, so I'll just switch to a different pencil. Probably get a different color just because the the pencil broke. That's okay. I could sharpen the pencils, but you don't use it. So, pro tip, I guess, even though I'm not a pro. Um, when working with pastel pencils, especially, you know, the best pastel pencils are going to be super soft, right? Because like you end up using the pastel pencils over other pastels. So while you may use like hard pastels for like the underpainting or something like that, this top layer you want it to go over um, other pastels, uh, and you're hoping that you have like enough tooth in the paper when you get to that point. Especially if you're like making your own kind of pastel paper with this clear gesso and stuff, that's not always a given. You have like several layers that you can put into this, but there is like a limit. But anyway, point is, you want soft pastels in your pencils, right? Like you want your pencils to be soft. And this particular brand, I have two sets of pastel pencils. One that's really nice that I kind of reserve for like special projects, and then it's kind of like a set that I use for experimentation. This is like a Calor. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but let's go with that. Calor. And they're a little bit on the cheaper side, but they are they're nice. I mean, I like them. I would recommend them, especially as like an intro set of pastel pencils. I also have a set of Derwent, which were kindly donated to me by a loyal viewer, and that's so awesome. Um, because like those things are great, and they're an example of the soft pastels that I'm talking about, and that's really what you want because those things are going to like just layer over everything, and these are a little bit on the harder side, but as you can see, the problem is that because they're soft, you know, they do break a lot, and also they become a challenge to sharpen. So like you can't just like use a regular pencil sharpener with them. Well, you can, but you're probably going to have mixed results. Um, so what I like to do is I like to use I have a pocket knife here. I like to sharpen my pencils with a pocket knife, not a pocket knife. Um, I like to sharpen it with a pocket knife. And then as far as like getting like a really fine point on them, I'll probably use like sandpaper. The other thing that's kind of interesting about working with pastel pencils and pastels in general is the paper itself is sanded if you're using the right paper. you don't want to use pastels on like super smooth paper, just because like, well, the pastel's probably gonna like fall off. It's not gonna stick. You need something with some tooth. That's the whole reason for the clear gesso. Or you can get paper that's actually made for pastels. I'm just cheap. I don't want to waste good paper on experimentations like this. Um, it's not like this is hanging up in a gallery or a museum or anything like that. It's just me practicing the art. So I'm going to use cheap material if I can get away with it for practice sessions like this. But anyway, point is, um, yeah. So by doing that clear gesso, which that's only like $14 a bottle. Watercolor paper is relatively cheap, depending on like what kind of watercolor paper you use. Um, you can get pretty cheap. So anyway, the paper itself is already sanded. So as far as like sharpening your pencils, you could do like what I'm doing here, where you're working like on the side, right, with the pencil, and that naturally is going to sharpen it because the paper itself is kind of like your sandpaper. So while I'm doing this beautiful picture that we're watching, I am also sharpening my pencils. So bonus. So again, you see that like I'm just adding a bunch of different layers, and those layers are creating these cool little visual interests, and it's starting to make it like look more realistic. And you still have to kind of it is it is like an impression of the field, so you kind of have to not really squint, but you do have to kind of like I don't know, look past the abstractness of it or the impressionistic of it. I don't know the right words. Again, I'm self-taught, so uh, whatever words they would have taught you in school, I wasn't there for it. So I think it's safe to call this impression, right? So like the impression of the field, you have to kind of like look past it, to kind of like, but your mind's going to do that anyway. Like our minds are hardwired to pick up patterns, right? Um, so your mind is going to see a field in this without me even telling you, just by suggesting it, you're going to get that field in your mind. All right, so I don't really want light poking through these areas, so I'm going to kind of try to fill this in just a little bit more than it was. It's okay to like leave little gaps where the light's kind of poking through these trees and stuff, but also not as much. First off, I want these trees to kind of look more like the trees that are around here, which are kind of like uh, I forget the name for them, but they're not like pine trees or anything. They're kind of like uh, like bushy at the top, rounded trees. There you go. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word round. The other thing, so I will say this for like new viewers who maybe aren't used to my channel or me or anything like that. You know, I'm not naturally a public speaker. I do stumble a lot over like what I'm trying to say. Often I am drinking, so that doesn't help. Uh, I have some social anxiety, which just makes me little little rough around the edges as far as like describing what I'm working on. Um, so bear with me. I uh, I try my best, and I think I do okay. I'm not going to win any awards or anything like that, but so I like this like little area here where some light is showing through because you get that in nature, right? It's not all like one big clump of trees. Now, usually when I go to blend, I like to use my fingers, but with this small area, I don't want to do all of that. And I think it's fine to leave this stuff um like unblended. Uh, so yeah, sorry, I just got a text on my watch and stuff. I was trying to read that. A little distracted. Anyway, that's for future Jeremy to deal with. But some of this area that the sun shouldn't be poking through and stuff, I can kind of blend that in. And I don't want to use my finger for that, which is my go-to. But I do have like blending stumps. So like uh, some. So my whole point. Where did I put my blending stump? Sorry. Uh, grab this over here. This will work. So I've got a bunch, but they're like spread all over. So I want to lightly kind of just blend this in. Again, usually my go-to is blending with my fingers, but this is a small area and stuff. I just kind of want to fill in some of these gaps so that it doesn't look like the sun's peeking through. Or at least not so much, you know. It's okay if like there's a few little areas where the sun's peeking through. That's natural. That's actually good. Creates for a better picture. But I want to fill in some of those. So I think that's cool. That's looking good. And that's a good dark background for, let me try this one. I don't know if this is the exact color I want, but I can come in and just add, you know, Bob Ross style, where you add the dark and then you add some like highlights. These aren't going to show up very well on camera, I don't think, but they're there. And I will come back with even lighter ones just to add to it. But get some highlights up here in these trees where the sun's peeking through, so it's not all black. And again, you can do this with other pastels as well. You can do this with the sticks. The pencils are almost like a convenience. You can also just very lightly come up here with the stick. I just don't have the right colors. Like I would like it something a little bit like less neon up here, but this will work. Let's get a few little highlights. These sticks are softer. Um, yeah, sorry. Sometimes I go off in my own little thoughts too, especially like when I'm trying to figure something out in the picture. But yeah, I think that's cool. So reinforce my horizon line a little bit. So it's not as ambiguous. Yeah, I think that's a good clump of trees there, if I do say so myself. So that's cool. Uh, all right, so there are some other colors throughout this picture that I haven't even gotten to. There is kind of like this pinkish color that I want to introduce into the sky, kind of along the horizon. Because like, I don't think you actually see the sun in here, but it's implied in some of these clouds. And I'm introducing this because I kind of want to introduce some flowers in the foreground that also kind of match this. And it may be hard to see this color on camera, but it looks really good, I think, as part of the clouds. Again, the clouds in the foreground, they're all just kind of like this mashup of various colors and like all working together to create that impression of features such as like clouds or grass or field with a bunch of different flowers in it. And some of this stuff I'll smooth out like around the edges and stuff, but some of it I want to kind of keep rough because it does create this like really cool um I think they call it painterly. This kind of painterly effect. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to call it that because it does look like a painting by leaving some of that texture in there. Probably shouldn't blow your excess pastel. Like you probably should find some other way to deal with that, but I don't know. Probably shouldn't kick it up in the air and stuff. Probably not good for your health, but it is what it is. I don't know. maybe they're like an artist vacuum or something I can kind of invest in. It'll just kind of suck up the excess pastel. Um, I like working with dry mediums. It's not for everybody. Some people particularly hate the chalkiness of this and stuff. It reminds them of like chalkboards in school and everything. I feel like those people probably don't like um, charcoal as well, but I love it. I like this stuff. I like I like the feel of it and all of that. All right, so I kind of like that. And what I wanted to do is kind of use this same color to kind of introduce some clumps of flowers in the foreground. This isn't the primary color these things are going to be, but or maybe they will be. I don't know, but I want some clumps of wildflowers up in these up in these weeds. So again, so like if you're just tuning in, my name's Jeremy. Usually I do live streams at night. I'm trying something a little bit different, doing a live stream on a Saturday morning. It's not my usual. Most of the people who watch are also night owls, and they're probably asleep right now. Um, but if you are watching and you know you're enjoying what you're seeing, and maybe you have some questions or something, feel free to chime in. I don't bite. I love questions. I may not know the answer to them. Again, like I'm not an expert. I'm not. I'm kind of a self-taught artist. But I'll try my best to answer the question. And you know, like I'm not going to just make up something, but also if I do try to come up with an answer to you, it's going to be based in some sort of experience, even though I don't have a ton of experience. I think this is looking pretty good for this only being my like third really pastel landscape on this channel. I haven't tried a lot, but I really like doing landscapes in pastel. So I do feel like I'm going to do more of these in the future. Um, so far I've been doing like farm fields and stuff because that's kind of what's around me. But like maybe you guys have like an opinion on this. So like I've traveled a couple of different places and stuff, and it, I usually take photos like while I'm there, and you know like everybody does and everything. But then I go to like want to create art based on it. So I'll give an example. So over the last couple of years, I've taken a couple of trips to New Mexico. I don't live in New Mexico. I'm just a tourist. I am not. I'm definitely not a native of New Mexico. Even though I've been there quite a few times, I'm still like totally not a New Mexico person. I am a Kentucky person. That's where I spend most of my time. That's what I'm familiar with. I know the people in Kentucky. I know the environment in Kentucky. It's easy to say I'm a Kentuckian. That said, I've got some really cool pictures of my time in New Mexico. It was a lot of fun. Um, I'm wondering, like, as an artist, does it make sense to do pictures based on those pictures I took of New Mexico, or is that kind of like I almost feel like this cultural appropriation. Like if I so there's a place in New Mexico, it's a pueblo. Native Americans lived there for like continuously for like over 1,000 years. And I don't mean like cultural appropriation, like I'm appropriating their culture or anything like that. I feel like I'm appropriating New Mexico culture by doing a picture of a New Mexico, you know, attraction. The same as like if somebody lived at the on the coast, right? Say somebody lived in San Francisco, and they're an artist, and they create like a lot of like coastal scenes, maybe a bunch of pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge, things of that nature. And then you know they come to Kentucky on vacation, and they see these beautiful horse farms out here, and they're like, "Man, that's super inspiring. I'm going to create a picture of a horse field or something like that." but they're like a San Francisco artist. They're not. They don't live in Kentucky. They don't spend any time in Kentucky. They just came here on vacation one time. To me, it would feel like they really shouldn't be doing pictures like that. It's not like I'd be offended or anything like that. It just seems weird. It seems like weird that they would, sorry, be doing a Kentucky painting. Anyway, that's just me. That's how I feel about it. I would like to do some pictures of some other places and stuff, but I live in Kentucky, so it seems kind of weird. Like if a lot of my family lives in South Carolina, so I go down there often, and they have like the coast and stuff. So like I was thinking, well, if I did a seascape of like I don't know the South Carolina coastline, it's beautiful down there. By the way, South Carolina coast is awesome. But if I did a picture of that, I feel like I would be just like a tourist, really. Like maybe I don't have the right to, I guess. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. So that's kind of cool, introducing some new colors. Um, get some more pinks up here. So again, I like to use the stick stuff for my major areas, but you can kind of just kind of, for lack of a better term, glaze in some other colors, like this pink here. I think that looks really nice. Obviously, the focal point through here would have like great deal of sun and kind of like rays of light coming out. So kind of like that. And then there's some um, there's some purples up here as well. And these purples kind of like make up part of the clouds themselves. So I'm gonna kind of be a little more heavy-handed with these purples. So just like glazing, I kind of really want to get these up in here. And you can see I'm kind of trying to direct the eye um, across the page towards the center by kind of like, I don't know, going a little diagonal, not only with my marks, but also with like the direction of these clouds, if that makes sense. This isn't something I'm terribly good at. It's something that I'm practicing. So I'm practicing. I wouldn't say I'm not good at it. I have no basis for making that judgment. I just feel like I'm not very good at it. Um, but it is something that I want to practice. So you're going to see me practicing this type of stuff as I progress on this channel. But I kind of want to move the eye towards a particular area of the picture. So I do that. Let's see if I got a darker gray here. So in addition to this purple, I kind of want to have at the edges where kind of makes this grayish. The purple and the gray kind of mixed together to create a cloudy sky. Anyway, I do kind of want to like get better at just composition in general, but the part of the composition where you're directing a viewer's eyes. I feel like that's important. Create movement in the picture. It is a goal of mine to get better at it. Get some cloudy skies up there. So I'm going to try to just soften that up a little bit so that it's not. It's okay to leave like some texture in clouds. Like clouds aren't just these like puffs of cotton, but especially on these like darker areas. I could have probably started with the darker areas and then built highlights over it. That would probably would have saved myself some trouble, but I didn't. So here I am, trying to soften up these dark areas. And then, all right, so there are some areas in the clouds that are actually really super light, almost white. So let's see if I can get some of that in here as well. I like adding white touches over color because that's really when things start kind of coming together, I think. Like the top layers are the most rewarding. I'm not saying that this is done where these would be the top layers, but I feel like, when you're dealing with white, it's probably going to be your top layer when it comes to clouds. But it's a rewarding portion of doing the pictures where things start coming together like that. Trusted says, I did not know that artists were territorial. I don't feel like maybe that's not the right word. Maybe I gave the wrong impression there. But I do feel like I wouldn't judge somebody too much if they came to Kentucky and did a Kentucky landscape, but they didn't live in Kentucky. But I feel like I should. That's all I'm saying. It's not like I'm territorial over it. I'm just saying, like, it's not like I'm going to be doing pictures of San Francisco. I'm only mentioning San Francisco because I traveled there one time and took a bunch of pictures. Um, but it's not like I'm going to be painting a bunch of pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's like, why would I? I don't live there. I'm not familiar with it. How am I supposed to capture the essence of it if I'm not that familiar with it? I don't know. That's my thinking about it. It's like I'm. It's not a very like rigid or structured opinion. Like I don't even know if I fully articulated my view on it, but yeah, that's just my thinking, you know. I welcome other people's opinions to maybe like change my mind on it because like I feel like I can easily change my mind on it, but that's where I'm at right now. Is if you don't live there, you shouldn't be doing art of that place. That's where I'm at. Tourist. That's all you are, is just big old tourist. Big old San Francisco big shot coming to Kentucky painting horse farms. What's up with that? I'm just joking, of course. I don't have a strong opinion on it. So I'm coming back over with the pencil just to kind of get a little bit of some of that texture that I kind of blurred out back in. Kind of get more of a sense of what clouds overlap each other. So like I feel like there's this cloud here that's kind of in the foreground of this other cloud behind it. I thought you thought other artists were territorial. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Because, like, yeah, actually, yeah, I do think so. They are kind of territorial now that I think of it. There's some competition too, by the way. Like, I mentioned that I went to that gallery hop um, the other night, or last night. Sorry, I'm losing track of days here. And the gallery hop is where you go around to local galleries and you get to meet with artists and stuff like that. And I kind of fly under the radar. I don't know a lot of these people. I'm still just now getting to meet them and stuff. It's a pretty cool community. So like I feel like I'm gonna try to make an effort, even though I do have like social anxiety and there's like only so far I'm able to go as far as like smoozing with other people. But anyway, um, but you're looking at these other people's work, and there is like a fair amount of competition. So like I am not at the level where I feel like I'm ready to compete with others. But in my mind, I'm like, man, that's the one to beat. you know? So like that's the way I look at it. It's like that's the person who does what I want to do, and I want to get as good as them. And until I do, I won't be satisfied. That's the person to be. And it's not like I don't like that person, or I'm looking at them in like a jealousy kind of format or something. It's just like I'm looking at them like, man, I respect that person's work. That's the person that I would like to be eventually. And I'm not there yet, but eventually I will be. And it's not like a strict competition in the sense that like there's a prize or like or the person even knows that you're competing with them. I should make that very clear. The person does not even is not even aware of your existence. But um, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, one day I will be as good as that person. And they don't even know who I am. They don't even realize that I'm thinking this or anything like that. So I find that interesting and fun. But yeah, it's like that to like a degree. It's not like it's really, really like that. It's just it's an observation. Pinks back in here. I do love layering a bunch of colors. I like layering colors that probably don't need to be like next to each other, just because like it just creates this visual interest, especially in clouds. I love making clouds. I love practicing making clouds. There you go. I'm not sure these look exactly the way I want them to, but I love the effort I'm putting into it. There you go. Hey, it's 8 p.m. Nomad. The people are starting to wake up now. I'm like, man, Jeremy, what is wrong with you doing a live stream on a Saturday morning? But people are starting to wake up. How's it going, Sapien? Hey, Steve, how's it going, man? Justice said, Jeremy, you're a world-class artist. There is no higher. I appreciate that opinion. I don't agree with that, but I appreciate it. Thank you. I think I'm getting better. Like I went back, so I mean, with some rare exceptions, there are some. Ah, man, like Thursday night, I was just having all kinds of trouble. I was trying to recover from like starting a broadcast, and for some reason it didn't go live, and I was trying to create a portrait that just wasn't really working out. So like, there's some rare exceptions where like some bombs and stuff, but I think for the most part, I am getting better at the art I'm creating. At least in my mind, that's how it is. In my mind, I'm getting better all the time. In my mind, I'm actually a pretty good example of like the whole, stick with it and you'll get better at it because like I feel like if you go back and you look at some of my earlier work and you look at what I'm doing now, it's not perfect. Like this is not a perfect picture, but it's so much better than what I was doing that I feel like so like this little area here that I just added. So you already have this kind of like you started with a base color of like yellow, right? And I've been adding all these things over. So like I can just kind of come back in, like let's say here where it's pretty yellow, I just want to make the rest of this clouds by kind of making the sky poke through here. Just little things like that. So like just this little blue area here. I like that. That's pretty cool. Sorry. I get stuck on the tangent. All right. So I feel like that's kind of cool. I feel like I need to lighten up some of that. I do that with the white. I want to lighten up some of this area here. So it's not so dark. So you see that I'm just kind of going in circular motions, maybe kind of stabbing at it. I think that's how you get an approximation of clouds. So some of this isn't translating to camera very well, but in front of me, I think it looks pretty good. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that up there. Happy-ish. So I'm gonna kind of move back down into the foreground where I felt like I can add some more um, stuff. First off, we get some purplish going down here so that the little wildflowers and stuff aren't just pink. Hey, Relentless Mineworks in the house. Cool. Northern California has some amazing landscapes. Wow, is California waking up already? That's cool. Yeah, so I would love to go out and draw California. You know, people do travel for art. So like some of the artists that I met last night at the gallery hop, they were talking about like this trip they took to France, and you know they're painting where um, a particular like Monet painted or something like that, you know. So I guess you know from that standpoint, maybe my point of view on the artist being territorial is not true at all. Because like people do travel for art. It's like an artistic pilgrimage to go somewhere where your favorite artist painted and try to like you know paint the same place. It's like people go to Florence, Italy, for that very reason. You know, like art students, they travel to Florence to paint like the Renaissance painters. Um, I just watched the documentary the other day where this guy was talking about his favorite watercolor artist. I forget his name, but he was over in Europe painting scenes during like I think it was World War II, and some of these places are still around. You know, some like the buildings and so on. And he he's over there. He's trying to duplicate his favorite artist's work at the places that they painted. So I'm gonna backtrack on my idea that artists are territorial. I don't think they are at all. Now that open air where the view is, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to go out and paint in nature. So I'm using, I don't know, it's probably showing up as kind of like black on camera and stuff. I can't really see because it's like lights in my face. But here in person, this is kind of like a purple. And I don't know exactly what kind of flowers these are, but there's like some purplish flowers out here. Just kind of penciling those in. So I think the next field that I do, I'm going to try to tackle some like a field of like wildflowers, just wildflowers. Like here I've got some grasses and stuff like that, but I'd like to just do some wildflowers and see how that goes. So again, directing somebody's eyes. So like I want to put in like a lot of yellows in the green grass up here and stuff just to kind of like draw your eyes into like so this area over here is going to remain dark. This right here kind of darkens off, but here in the center, kind of want to emphasize some yellows in this grass to kind of draw your eye into that area. That's where the light is kind of catching the grass, at least in my mind. Again, it's not something I'm a master at or anything like that. It's just something I'm practicing, trying to draw people's eyes into things. Bryce Canyon in Utah. Oh, I would love to. So I did go to Mount Zion in Utah when I was vacationing in at Las Vegas one time. I took a little side trip out to Mount Zion, and that place is beautiful. Like I actually have some photos of there. So like if I did want to do some landscapes from places that I don't live, that's probably high on my list. Because I've got some great photos of when I was there. Yeah, maybe I'll tackle that. That's a great suggestion. Like I know you didn't mean it as a suggestion, but I'm gonna take that as a suggestion. I like introducing yellows into the green. Just, I think it looks cool. But yeah. So anybody got any plans for this weekend? Like you guys doing anything special today or tomorrow? I Again, it's super nice out. I do think I'm going to get out on the kayak. I mentioned before I've got basically three different activities that I like to do for exercise. I love to go hiking. Um, that's kind of like my go-to because and you can hike anywhere, like it's basically walking long distances. So like you're basically hiking every day of your life, whether you agree to it or not. Um, you're hiking around Walmart essentially. But yeah, I also like to go biking, which is pretty nice. I like to go biking because you can really get some distance in fairly easily. And then I like to go kayaking. I don't know which I want to do today, but I'm going to do one of them. Maybe I'll go biking. It's been a little while. I didn't intend for this to be as bright here in the foreground, but I'm liking it, so I'm just continuing with it. Like I said, I'm not actually drawing a particular place. This is kind of a, composite of two or three different places. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I pick like a foreground that I like, and I like maybe the sky or something. So I'll put the two together in a reference, like composite that maybe I'll put together in Photoshop. I didn't do all that for this. There's just like two different pictures open on my computer. Um, but that's the kind of stuff I do. Oh, by the way, this is what I was talking about, like where you naturally sharpen your pencil while you're doing the work because paper is sanded. So you see that edge there? Um, this is basically being sure. I didn't like that blue line there, so I'm trying to cover that up a little bit. But anyway, so now if I wanted to do like a really sharp mark with this pencil, like I can because it's like super sharp. I don't know if that's actually what I want to do. I'm just saying. I'm just saying I can, but I don't know. How are we doing on time? How long have we been here? Oh, we've only like an hour and a half into this. I usually like to keep these things around 2 hours. I feel like that's a good viewing time for people. You know, I don't expect people to like really be watching these shows. I expect them to kind of have it on in the background as like noise or something like that while they're, and then they check in every now and then. I feel like that's how most people watch these things. That's how I watch, the ones that I watch. I don't, I don't like, I'm not glued to it. But anyway, my point is, um, 2 hours is probably good for something like that. W says, art studio, detailed build out, home repairs, nice weekend. Nice. That sounds like fun. Trusted living is yard work and maybe a campfire. Oh, a campfire. That's a great idea. I've got some brush and stuff from the yard that I need to burn. That sounds like a good thing tonight. Grab myself a nice little glass of bourbon, hang out with the campfire going. I like that suggestion. I'm gonna steal all your guys' ideas. Like whenever you guys come up with good ideas for things to do, I'm just gonna steal them. So I'm gonna steal that idea, Trusted. I know you think that's your idea, but it's mine now. I take it. So, one tip, even though, so you have a lot of latitude in translating the environment around you. Like you, as an artist, there's like that thing they call artistic license where you can kind of do what you want. And one of the things I like to do is even if the foreground um, doesn't 100% match in color in real life, I like to take colors that I have in the sky and bring them down into the front area. So this is basically the kind of the colors of the foreground, but I I'm only mentioning that because like it's nice that these little wildflowers that I'm putting in are the colors of the sky. So at this point, I'm going to take the sharp edge of this little block thing, even though I could do this in pencil. I like doing it with this. I'm going to chisel in because this is in the foreground, right? So like you're gonna see more detail. I'm gonna chisel in some lighter edges on some of these objects just to create some uh some detail. Because like if you don't add some detail, so like it's okay to make everything pretty abstract where like I feel like this picture I could call it done if I wanted to, but I think it helps to add some detail, especially in the foreground, to kind of anchor the person's eyes when they go looking through it, so that it's not like they lost their glasses when looking at a field. Just little specks of something for their eyes to anchor onto. Which again, it's these things are in nature, so it's fine. You get these little puffs of white, but I like those. South Rim of Grand Canyon. I haven't been to Grand Canyon yet. That'd be nice. Oh, cool. MCG says hi with the thumbs up. So hopefully, hopefully that's an endorsement there. I like that. Appreciate you stopping in. If this is your first time, I do little experiments like this all the time. So be sure to check back, subscribe if you want, and uh, I'll bring more. Relentless Mindworks says South Rim of the Grand Canyon Meteor Crater, Hoover Dam, and finally Death Valley in July. I have never been to the Grand Canyon, and that is I'm embarrassed by that. I really feel like I should go to the Grand Canyon, especially when I did go to I have been out in that area a lot. So like I said, I've gone to Vegas mostly for conferences. Um, So I've been to the Hoover Dam. I love the Hoover Dam. I took the tour there. It's fascinating. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to like go into the bowels of the Hoover Dam, but it's really interesting. I find that stuff. I just love technology and like works of engineering art, which is what I would consider that. Um, so that place is great. And then what I really like about Hoover Dam is if you go to that bridge, it's a newer bridge, but it's probably been around for like, I don't know, decades. But that bridge that is in front of the Hoover Dam. That is a beautiful place to take a photo. So I love that. Um, so I've been there. Um, let's see, what else did you mention? Death Valley, never been there. Meteor Crater sounds great. I would love to do that. Most of the places I've been in the Southwest are New Mexico mainly, and then Vegas general area for mostly for conferences. But I have been to California a few times. I love it out in California. I would love to go back. Um, there, I went to Los Angeles one time, and I forget why I went there, but that was back in 2010. That was a fun trip. While I was there, I stayed at Marina Del Rey, which is close to Venice Beach. Venice Beach is phenomenal. I love Venice Beach. That's like my type of place. Um, so I spent some time there, and then for a conference, I went out to San Francisco one time, and I love San Francisco. I don't know what it's like now. This was back in 2012, and probably it's changed a bit since then, just because it's the type of place that does change a lot with technology and basically it's the tech hub of the United States. So like a lot of people live there for that. In fact, when I was there, I was taking public transportation around like buses and stuff like that, and listening in on people's conversations. Basically, every single young person was talking about some sort of technology thing that they're working on. So I can only imagine what San Francisco is like now. But back then, back in 2012, it was great. I loved it. Um, went to the MoMA, I think it's called, the Museum of Modern Art there in San Francisco. And modern art really, so like, I don't know, the Museum of Modern Art, it's so fast. Like even that gallery hop that I went to last night, there are so many different variations of art. It really is like, basically anything you can do, anything you do is considered art. And there's like no real reason why anybody in the world can't just be like an artist and stuff. Just do your thing, basically, and you'll find a an audience for it. That's the takeaway I got from going to like the Museum of Modern Art. Like there are so many different aspects to art. Like this is what I'm doing here would be more like a traditional classic kind of like style of art or something, you know. This is something that maybe somebody could have done in the 1800s or 19th century or something like that. Uh, Something that people do when they're retired just to pass the time. That's a little bit different than some of the stuff I see at the Museum of Modern Art. And I'm just fascinated by all of it. I like all of it, really. I love going to art museums and just seeing what people are up to. The creativity that people bring to the table, it's just phenomenal. Some of it's super inspiring. Some of it's stuff that I want to do. Some of it, you know, I'm like, man, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I don't want to like call out any of the stuff that I saw at the gallery hop last night because I don't know, like maybe they watched this show or something like that. But there's some of that art that I saw last night that I just don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I just like introducing like little specks of color here in the foreground. I could probably get a little bit darker in some of the corners of this. It's a bit much to call it like a vignette or what, however you pronounce that, but I do kind of like to frame my picture a little bit with the like honestly, some of these dark values that I'm putting in earlier, I probably could have like saved myself some trouble by putting them in as the background and then doing stuff over it, but I don't mind. I don't mind coming back and tinkering with these. I feel like it would have been easier though. A little bit. I could do this all day, honestly. Like I could, it's probably a bit much, but I feel like I could just keep working on this picture or do other ones like it. I love working with pastels, and I like randomly just working on landscapes and getting like randomly putting in like little flowers and stuff. This is so much fun for me. I know that maybe like it's a little bit boring to watch. I don't know, but hopefully you guys find it a little bit interesting, relaxing, and so on. Like I grew up watching Bob Ross on Saturday mornings. And I think that's sort of the reason why I wanted to try to do a Saturday morning one is just to try to be Bob Ross. But yeah, so like not all of his stuff was like phenomenal. It's like not all of it was like groundbreaking or anything. I mean, he basically did the same picture 500 million different ways. I'm exaggerating. Obviously, there was some variation in the work that he did, but a lot of his stuff was pretty straightforward and typical, I guess, is a way of putting it. There's a typical Bob Ross picture, but anyway, so like, but I was never bored, and I think the reason why bored watching it as a kid, and I think the reason why is because only part of it is the art itself. Some of it is just like you're just relaxing listening to Bob Ross talk, and I just love the way Bob Ross talked, and even though the picture itself is probably something I've seen before, or I've seen him do something like it before. You've probably seen a field of wildflowers and sky and clouds and stuff a million times before. None of this is new. It's not like we're creating any new ground here, but it is nice, to have like there's worse things to watch, like while you're trying to do your work or study or read a book or something like that. You can have like the news on where people are like basically screaming at you about nothing for no reason. This is better than that. Anyway, I'm liking how this picture looks. Hopefully you guys like it as well. If you guys do like it, hey, be sure to give it a thumbs up, you know. Again, if this is your first time here, consider subscribing so that I can bring more of these things to you in the future. I don't have like a ton of subscribers. Um, you know, I'm not part of the YouTube partner program. I don't have enough watch hours. I'm kind of fairly new at this channel, although I have been doing it for a while. I should be further along. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just know that it could be better. So anyway that you can help the channel by giving it a like and subscribing to it, that would be awesome. Like trying to grow here. And you know, I I don't need a ton of viewers to do what I'm doing. I like the small intimate thing that we've got going here where just a few people and stuff to talk to. I like that. Um, but also, yeah, you know, like if you want to be a part of the community, would love to have you. Yeah, I'm liking this. This is looking cool. Um, Relentless Mindwork says the trip was in late July, early August, and we got snow at the north rim of the Grand Canyon at about 8,000 feet. Oh, nice. Then at Death Valley, it was 127 degrees. I believe it. Yeah, especially in July. It rained and evaporated before hitting the ground. No kidding. Wow, that's cool. I need a pro wig and an artist palette to be Bob Ross. I like it. That's great. I do need a pro wig and I don't know. I wear the same hat every time. I'm trying to build a brand, you know. It's not Bob Ross. It's got to be a little bit different. Got to look, you know, got to build your own brand, your own style. Uh, so I think I'm gonna put like a little tree clump out here, so that it's not just all out in the distance. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. Like just a little lone tree. Sorry, I'm thinking here. Like a little tree. Get some branches going back here this way. It's a little random tree. I don't know why, but I think it's cool. Because why not, right? Because it's my world. I can do whatever I want. It's your world. Community world. A little random tree out there. And then I think so there's like a lot of fields around here with this like white tree kind of just like sitting in the field. And I like those, so that's what I'm gonna do here. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, might be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but and then kind of fluff in some foreground here so that that tree's not just sitting there. We put a little bit of yellow in the actual tree. I think that's cool. So just a little thing to look at. And maybe since this is basically spring, I will add some foliage, foliage, some leaves to it. Just I don't know what kind of tree this is. I'm just gonna call it a tree. But again, it's about communicating distance, right? So like here in the foreground, you've got this You've got these little wildflowers going on back there. You've got some some tree line here. We're gonna just kind of throw in a random tree. Again, I don't know what kind of tree. I don't care what kind of tree really. Just wanted to add something. Get a little bit of highlight to those branches. Trusted says, I was hoping you would make a PDF catalog of your art shorts to promote that work. Would it increase traffic? So I don't know if I do like a, so I was thinking about doing like a, I don't know, something like that. As a collection of my work. And I think the coffee art is probably a good thing to do with that. I was thinking about making a like a coffee table book of the coffee art. As far as like the actual portfolio, I need to. I have a website, but I haven't added any of my art to it. I need to build a gallery on my website. So I think that's how that's going to look. Is at some point I'm going to update my website with like an actual gallery of my art and stuff. I have like Instagram, which I think is good for like highlighting pictures. Like I put, you know, like videos up there as well, like little shorts and stuff like that. But I think that Instagram's pretty good for that. But I really need all this under like one umbrella. So like that is on my list of things to do. That's a great suggestion, Trusted. I appreciate that. But all I can say is at some point, you know, I feel like that's dark enough. So let me get a little bit of darkness in on this tree. I do like that I added this like little tree here. But now that I did, I have to change the clouds behind it a little bit, I think. But I'll get to it. I'm almost done here. How are we doing on time? 1:43. Yeah, it will probably be right at the 2 hour mark. Almost done here. All right, so that's kind of cool. All right, so now that I did that, I need to really kind of fix up the stuff behind it so that it makes sense that this tree's there. Just let that sky kind of breathe behind it. And by breathe, I mean come to life. All right, so that's kind of cool. All right, so now poking through that tree, let's see. Maybe I'll use it like white for that. Let me take a swig of coffee and just think about this for a minute. I'm going to use this stick to create a bit of kind of not necessarily a halo, but just like some separation of the tree from the sky so that, you know, light's poking through. If that makes sense. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of white and kind of do the same over here. Kind of let that light kind of poke through. And not necessarily create like a halo effect, but just kind of like a highlight around that tree. So that, again, it's about creating, you know, like a direction for your eyes to move through the picture. And I don't like that being so white, so I'm going to try to use this yellow. Kind of yellowify that white a little bit. All right, so still it's super bright, but not so white. I know the like not, some of this stuff doesn't translate well on camera, but it makes sense. All right, so I'm gonna tinker with the sky up here. Now that I've made some of these adjustments. Again, I love pastels. I just love just kind of chunking in clouds and grass and stuff like that. It really is a fun medium. I like this blue, by the way. So I'm just sometimes I just like a color and I'm like, oh, I like this color. I'm going to put more of this color in there. And then sometimes I kind of overdo it. All right, so that's good. I do like this blue as well. So let me kind of move this out just a little bit. You know, it's not like somehow in the back of my mind, I'm keeping track of like which fingers have gunk on them. Because like this one's a totally different blue than this one. So like I'm actually using my fingers as like brushes here. And in my mind, somehow I realized like, oh, I don't want to use my index finger because I've already done stuff with that. So that's kind of interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe you guys are like, yeah, that's dumb, Jeremy. That's fine. Maybe it is dumb. I don't know. Don't care. All right. I think we're pretty close to being calling this done. Again, it's not going to win any awards or anything like that, but I think it's kind of cool. I think it's maybe maybe put a little bit more. I think it looks like a pretty landscape, you know. This is definitely something that you would see in Kentucky, even though it's not like a real spot or anything like that. It's just kind of a composite of a couple of different places, maybe. The other thing I could have done on this tree is I could have put in the like bushes and stuff like that, and then come back and added the branches. I just didn't, you know. Different ways to do things. I'm looking at this tree out actually outside my window here as like inspiration for this tree here. I don't know what kind that is, but it's a pretty tree. How's that? Then you got some trees along the foreground here. Leaves. Get some more trees going in the horizon here. A few little last minute touch ups, changes, and so on. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. I think it looks pretty good. Ish. I need to throw a little ish in there. I don't know. Painting with the little blending tool here. I think maybe this needs like a little bit of yellow. I think my next one I do will have like a bigger tree in the foreground or something like that. Because like I'm enjoying doing the features of this tree, but I'm also realizing like, man, this is super small, and it's tough to get any kind of like detail in there. So I do think that in the future, next landscape I do, I may actually do like a larger tree in the foreground, just so that I can put more detail in there. Anyway, I I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Oh wow, this bird just flew up like right in front of me. Oh, sorry. I'm easily distracted. You guys don't care about that kind of stuff. Um, anyway, what do you guys think? Do you guys like this? You guys want to see more of this in the future? Good stuff. Should I go back to the drawing board? Don't quit my day job. Any of these are valid, takeaways from it. But I like it. So, I think this one, let me see if I can grab the one I did the other day. And one other thing I like to do whenever I do art is compare it to similar stuff that I've done recently. So let me move this guy out of the way and move my coffee cup. So I want to also develop some sort of consistency. So this is one I did the other day, and then this is what I've got now. So like I guess my question is like, are they kind of consistent? Do they look like they're by the same artist? I think so. Looks like they're by an artist who likes to scribble a lot, which is cool because I do. But I need to get more pastels so that I have more colors to play with. But I want to introduce some other stuff here now that I'm looking at this. I like that blue up there in the sky, but I kind of want to. A little bit of blue down here. And even though there's not like blue weeds down here, I justify this by saying, grass can reflect the sky. Why not? I think that's pretty. But yeah, I'm gonna get some more pastels and then I can create like some really cool stuff, I think. What I like about the stick pastels is that you can vary the mark size. Like with a pencil, and you're kind of stuck with that point. With these, you can kind of make thicker ones, smaller ones. But hey, Trusted says it looks great. That's good enough for me. I think we're gonna call this done. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Saturday morning, which is awesome. First of many, maybe. Like we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to commit to doing every Saturday. So like, whereas I am committed to doing, unless I need to cancel or something like that. I do Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. Unless I need to cancel for some reason, I'm gonna remain committed to that. I'm not going to commit to doing Saturday mornings just because I do like to keep my Saturdays kind of like free and open. Um, but that said, I mean, I do think that I do like doing Saturdays, and I think that we'll do more of these in the future, just as kind of like little one-offs. I don't know how I sign it over this. I'll have to figure that out later. But anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Saturday morning. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Let me go back to this. Yeah, so have a great rest of your weekend. Go out there. Like if it's sunny like it is here in your neck of the woods, go out there and get some sunshine. Like I feel like we as a society um, don't get enough of that in our daily lives. So I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna enjoy the sun. Hopefully you guys will as well. And I will see you guys back Tuesday night for a regularly scheduled session or whatever. It's a different time zone, so maybe different viewers. So if you are a person who is not familiar with this channel, I don't bite. I'm just here creating, having fun, creating art. Hopefully, this is your thing as well, and you'll tune in the future. So hit that subscribe button and throw me a like if you liked it. That helps with the algorithm and all that jazz. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna go out and enjoy some sunshine. See ya. Bye. Have a good one.